Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons here to break down episode 9, aka the finale of She-Hulk for you. This episode, it was so much happened. So many new crazy appearances. I guess everyone's a dad now in the MCU. There's daddies galore. Jen could change Kevin's creation, which means maybe Deadpool can too now. Like, let's just get into it because I'm still spiraling. Oh my God, what did we just watch? Before the Marvel logo and song stop, the Marvel Studios logo starts to twitch and frizz out. A red screen reads danger, and it's mimicking the 1978 opening to the Hulk TV series frame for frame. And now we also see the scene from the trailer of 70s Jen and Bruce and where it came from. We also get the same image of a meal they used in the earlier episodes on the news that we know is from the Incredible Hulk. When Jen transforms into She-Hulk in this intro, I think it's the on-set She-Hulk reference, Malia Aria. I might be wrong, but it might be her. Jen working on her computer with her mug, I also think resembles the courtroom illustration we see with her in the S.H.I.E.L.D. files at the end of every episode. The narrator refers to her as the Savage She-Hulk, a callback to the Savage She-Hulk comics from the 80s. This is the first run of She-Hulk where through a lot of turmoil, Jen becomes a Hulk, almost dies, does permanently decide to be a She-Hulk, and a lot of stuff just happens. Also, they call it Savage She-Hulk because she's a savage. This all could have been Jen dreaming though, because she wakes up in the same prison Emil was in prior episodes, episode 2 and 3 to be exact, at the DODC. Mallory, Pug, and Nikki, like the great friends they are checking in on Jen and reveal to her a plea deal. She has to wear an inhibitor. We've seen the inhibitor before. We've seen it with Hulk, we've seen it with Emil, and now Jen has it. Which, you know, clearly sucks because we know from episode 3, Emil can still change into Abomination in that cell, and even clearly mad talking to Mallory about it, Jen doesn't change into She-Hulk. She can clearly control her anger. This is also sort of mirrors everything that happened to Emil. An out of control moment witnessed by others, furthering the notion that you're still a walking hazard. So Jen, starting right now, has relinquished her ability to change back into She-Hulk, which sucks. We begin the sort of montage of Jen's life kind of flopping, her mom and dad hugging her outside of the prison. She's now lost her job and the news is all over it. We have KPVK15, News Los Angeles Now, KZYO12, who called this Galagate, like, cause Galagate, it's a play on the infamous Watergate. We've seen each news outlet in earlier episodes. All three appeared in the beginning of episode 2, covering the She-Hulk and Titania courtroom debacle. We've also seen this news truck from the trailers, and then the same scene of them yelling to Jen from the window. Jen has now moved out of her very amazing sweet apartment. After hearing from what her mom and dad just said previously, I think A, I don't think she can afford it because she has no job now, and B, the paparazzi are constantly hounding her. She needs a break. We spent so much time in this home and it's so sad to see it go like this. Once Jen arrives at her parents' house, we see the KCAV 35 news van we saw in episode 3. A ton of reporters. One looks like the reporter from the 3rd episode that we've seen as well. Luckily, Jen's dad is there to shoo them away with a garden hose, even with Morris commenting on not caring if there's a drought because California is always in a drought. The first thing we see in Jen's old room is the Legally Blonde poster, which probably is my favorite lawyer movie. I'm not joking. We've also got Julia Roberts' Aaron Brockovich movie poster, another lawyer movie. The UCLA Bruins banner, which yes, we know in the comics she went to UCLA, but in the first episode, we also see her degrees, so we know she graduated from it here too. Some photos with family and friends, of course the workout equipment her mom left, a Mancala game on the shelf, award ribbons, a Midsummer's Night Dream poster with Puck on the cover, Backstreet Boys Black and Blue album poster, oh yeah baby. It's everyone's old bedroom in our parents' house that they just never touched truly once we moved out. So Jen has begun to Pepe Sylvia her way into figuring out and deducing who the intelligentsia really is.
Jesus Christ, that right there is
So we see Lion Day 1 Hulk King emoji. He's the admin. Around him are Trace phone calls and a post describing how She-Hulk is a radical. To the left, we see a man whom I assume is a part of the intelligentsia. His middle name is Van, last name Wen. They got the man's social security number and everything, so they delve pretty deep. We see sticky notes citing the intelligentsia was originally banned on 2 sites and inevitably made their own. Right here, his image links to the intelligentsia, which links to a black bird-like face, a green sort of moth, and a panda, a weird chicken boy. We know the Pepe Frog looking cartoon is Hulk King. I think the black one could be the Wizard or Trapster, both members of the intelligentsia in the comics, because the eyes remind me of goggles. The green moth-like one could be Iron Moth, a really silly villain in the comics, or Sybil Vorak, aka Gypsy Moth. The panda icon is definitely Panda Guy. We see later commenting on She-Hulk's dancing clip. The chicken boy could be Beak from the comics. I've mentioned him in the past, assuming one of Luke Jacobson's costumes could be from his episode in episode 5. Or this could be an homage to Dick Orkin's spoof on Comic Book Hero superheroes from the 60s, mainly making fun of Batman. Screen Crush thinks this horned one could be Mandrill, who has been problematic in a lot of comics. If you zoom out, there's actually a gorilla or ape at the top, so that could also be Mandrill. The intelligentsia is allegedly owned by several shell companies that are operating outside of the US jurisdiction. A shell company is a company or corporation that exists only on paper and has bank accounts funding different assets or just withholding money. We know in season 3, episode 5 of Daredevil, Fisk used shell corporations to purchase the hotel he was staying in and that Julie was working at. Sneaky, sneaky. You remember Dennis Bukowski, right? Who thought he was dating Megan Thee Stallion in episode 3? Yeah, the idiot. Now he's on the conversation with Jefferson Coop, who we've also seen in episode 3. Dennis is talking about Jen and their past relationship being in a relationship. He's clearly lying, but not in like a good way either. He just looks stupid. He said, "I blame her grandmother." So we know Jen's mom is Elaine and Elaine's mom is Beatrice Banner, who was married to Robert Stearns, but slept with his brother Samuel Stearns and then was disavowed by that brother Robert Stearns. It just all went crazy and Robert ended up killing his brother. So unless he's calling back to that, I think Dennis is just spilling some BS. Jen could be talking to herself. She could be breaking the fourth wall here. When she asked if this is what we wanted, I felt like a child watching Dora the Explorer going, "No!" and violently shaking my head. We get the narrator's like 70s intro coming back, and she acknowledges you can have a narrator only when you're going off the rails, which is sort of true if you remember that scene in Emperor's New Groove. She texts Hulk, aka Smug Hulk, on her phone. The messages don't go through. Same with her text to Emil because they both don't have service in both places. One's in space and one's on a retreat with no Wi-Fi. Jen goes through her phone and we see some names like Ethan Rudy, Jordan Robin. These people are all people that could potentially, when I look them up, work for different parts in Marvel, but I also think they're just a list of random names and people that she's dated in the past. Like Robin says, "Next time you're in Vancouver, come visit." Ken R says, "Fun time." Noah says, "Darby is the one for you," who we see a clip of in episode 3. This could possibly be Darby Don't Care, who was talking major-ish on She-Hulk. We got Grant, who's just Rick-rolling us. Rick, I just want to tell you how I see it. I think we're just getting more kind of Rick-rolls. A lot of these folks are friends and men that she's gone on dates with and talked to briefly, so it's just good to mention it. Nikki uploads Jen dancing like a little dummy in college to the Intelligentsia website as bait for the annoying baby men who hate her. If this doesn't remind you of everyone attacking AOC when she was dancing in college, you're not catching on, baby. Because this video is, and I quote, "an epic find." Nikki immediately gets invited to the Hulk King event happening that night, the same night Jen arrives at Emil's retreat. What could possibly go wrong? When Nikki and the Hulk King are talking, both usernames are anonymous, which is used when you want to be completely anonymous on online forums, or just distribute information super anonymously. Jen arrives at the Twilight Summers to an immediate welcome from the Wrecker, who I expected to be up to something, but as we find out later, I don't think he is. Not a disappointment, but I was wrong, and I can admit when I'm wrong. He sets her up with a guest room and a copy of Deep Haikus by Emil Blonsky, and in the second episode, Emil wrote haikus to each of his victims expressing sorrow, so I wonder who this one's for. Before I go any further, I just want to say, be sure to head over to newrockstarsmerch.com and grab our latest Obsession shirt, Lady Justice, inspired by the She-Hulk Attorney at Law series, along with our Daredevil Devil's Advocate shirt. These shirts are limited edition, and when you purchase it, you unlock the ability to get a custom shout out that would appear on the show that comes out usually the day before my show, Inside Marvel. Support the channel and check out all of our awesome merch options over at newrockstarsmerch.com before it's out. Hurry, go, shoo. Come back. Okay, thank you. On the other hand of things, Pug and Nikki arrive to the event, and rightfully, to play the part, Nikki tells Pug to blend in and only refer to women as females because just don't do it. Don't do it, it's horrible. As soon as we enter the event, there's a sign that says, "Big men dream big," in the same font as the motivational posters for Emil's retreat, and I'm like, seriously? Even with the same Obama-stay swag? Like, damn, Emil, you don't need their money that bad. I swear to God. Also, this is the same place they held the group therapy and gives reason now to all of those foldable chairs that She-Hulk threw the Wrecker into. As Pug listens to a group of idiots conversation, we overhear them already fighting about the name She-Hulk, which is no surprise there that they don't recognize a man coined it in the second episode. They also mention Lady Thor, aka Jane Foster. We do know that Jane had been Lady Thor longer than what we saw in Thor Love and Thunder, but Valkyrie says she's only been doing it for a minute, so it probably wasn't that long after, but it does confirm that She-Hulk overlaps with it. None other than the stupid idiot butt-face himself Todd shows up. Not surprising. I think we all knew that he was a part of the Intelligentsia. I mean, he's a butthead. I think we all expected him to be here, but in like the most offensive way, he's not surprised to see Pug there, and Pug's heart literally crumbles. Also, when Todd is like, "Pug rules and he's hot," a voice in the background goes, "Yeah, I'd smash you," and another goes, "Wait, what?" It killed me. I loved it.
He rules and he's hot.
Yeah, I'd smash it. What?
For John Bass, who plays Todd, this is the most we've got from him in terms of motivation, so kudos. But as Todd, I want to hit him upside this head. We see his justification that Jen was given her powers, handed these powers from Hulk, who was given no credit, which, though Todd clearly doesn't know an ounce of the true story, is pissed about it. He also reveals himself to be Hulk King, which, no doy, we know Todd. And we sort of confirm Holden Holloway has nothing wrong or ill wishes upon Jen, or at least as far as the intelligentsia goes, because Todd suspects Holden and Jen are hooking up, which gross. Todd winds these guys up, kicking in the air like an aggressive weird TED Talk. He will keep that scarf on forever and I want to choke him with it. Behind him is the achieve everything saying Emil has and a picture of what I assume is Emil meditating upon a hill silhouetted. When Wrecker and Jen are talking, Wrecker mentions Saracen's Pu'era tea, which is traditionally fermented tea from China that's great for lowering your cholesterol and improving your health. But Saracen slips in chicken blood because basically he's a vampire if you remember from episode 7.
Kind of miss the chicken blood.
By the way, hunting for Easter eggs in your favorite show or movie, that's fun. Hunting for malware and old system logs on your Mac, oh, horrible. That's a job you want done for you, which is why there's Clean My Mac X. Clean My Mac X is the best software on the market to clean and optimize your Mac. It deletes megatons of junk, malware, uninstalls unused apps, which I severely need, and makes Mac computers faster, safer, and more organized. It's so good that it's been notarized by Apple themselves. And if it's notarized by Apple, you know it's good. And if anybody knows how to keep a Mac clean, it's probably the people that build it, I assume, right? I mean, I hope. Clean My Mac X has a whole bunch of tools you can use to clean up your Mac. SmartScan finds system files you no longer need. Space Lens will show you what files are taking up the most room on your hard drive. And Malware Removal will find all those nasty little viruses and junk programs you didn't even know you had. The little ones that go like, it's like little rats. It's like rats. And once your Mac is healthy, Clean My Mac X's menu app will help you keep it healthy by giving you an easy way to look at key performance indicators of your computer because God knows I don't understand what's going on. No wonder Clean My Mac X has been an industry leader in Mac health for 14 years and is used by millions of people in 185 countries around the world, plus Antarctica. I guess they don't normally count. To get started making your Mac run like new, just click the link in the description to download Clean My Mac X today. Peep the Wrecking Crew in the back right. Now maybe I was wrong about Wrecker, maybe he left the group rightfully so, but his team is still a part of the intelligentsia. And this is the scene we saw from the trailer of Emil high-fiving all of those men. The song playing is Gonna Be a Winner, performed by Jason Glover and Richard Neal, and this does feel like a life coaching seminar. It really does feel like that. When Jen enters, I like that she doesn't care about Todd, the men all weirdly cheering, or the event at all, just Emil changing into Abomination because she's still his lawyer and she cares about him. Nikki slams open the garage door announcing Todd is in fact the Hulk King. We learn that Todd paid for Josh to seduce and steal Jen's blood in episode 7, and his team worked on it, synthesizing it, allowing Todd to take it. He then takes the blood and turns into a Hulk Todd, which is the most cartoony, scrappy-doo hulking out I've ever seen since the Scooby-Doo movie. Titania arrives again, smashing through a wall, and I love Nikki's line here.
God, does that bitch ever use a door?
Bruce arrives, smashing through the ceiling, and immediately in a misunderstanding starts fighting Emil. Jen breaks the fourth wall, noticing none of these storylines make sense, which is true. Everything is popping in out of everywhere. And I swear to God, I thought my computer was conking out when it took me back to the Disney Plus Marvel screen. In the sensational She-Hulk comics, Jen stepped out of the comic box to start a fight with the writer, which is completely the same nod we're seeing done on the Marvel page. She swings from Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings to Loki and jumps into Marvel Assembled, which is funny because now it's featuring a thumbnail of Thor Love and Thunder, but at the time, She-Hulk was in post probably featuring Shang-Chi. This is when it goes off the rails because she now knows the other shows and movies that appear on Disney Plus. She's aware of her story being a portion of a larger thread. Either way, we're brought to the Disney lot in Burbank, California. Once Jen landed on set, we saw this bit in the trailer, but they edited out all the production equipment, so clearly we didn't know. Also, two men are discussing the first Thor movie and having to make Thanos' gauntlet during the first Thor movie, referring to the fake one that we saw. Peep the Disney water tower, the 7 dwarves holding up the roof. The old wise tale is that the 7 dwarves are holding up the roof because that's what kind of started Disney. That was like the first feature film for Disney. Walt and Mickey in the middle of the courtyard along with the 2 on the bench. The Disney Legends handprints all over the walls of different artists. We see our weekly QR code on the She-Hulk door. It takes you to a free copy of the sensational She-Hulk 1989, issue number 50. Also peep the Captain America poster in the back, the same one we've seen in the first Captain America movie, but these posters are telling you to silence your phones, which I think is really funny. And in an amazingly weird, wild freaking scene, we see the writers from She-Hulk going over the next season, and oh my God, this is fun. This was also Kevin Feige's idea. We have the Captain America poster slightly different, crafty snacks. On the wall are different types of photos for Titania and Leapfrog. We see a man bull, the demons portrayed in the 4th episode. On the whiteboard, it says finale with a 4-leaf clover. Now, recently I found out that all the words on the whiteboard are things that Zeb Wells says during pitching machine in the writer's room. So they just put all their favorite phrases that he said on that wall. So all of these lists are just things that Zeb has said, who's AKA the ham guy in the credits. I'll get into that in a second. He, I guess, coined Incredible Hulk, which we see at the wedding episode in episode 6, all over Chet's shirt in the DJ equipment. Nanobots! Exclamation point, exclamation point. In the comics, Iron Man injected She-Hulk with nanobots that inhibit her power. Things like, here, you're not allergic to WOWIEs, but there's no WOWIE at the end, which could refer to our big climaxes being WOWIEs. Gamma Ghoul, but I think I like it more if it's kind of like Gabagool, then it's Gamma Ghoul. We've got a Hulk poster that says smash and shred. Let's also not derail from the casting because, oh my god, the blonde lady at the top could be Wendy Jacobson, the co-EP on She-Hulk, and the red is Jessica Gao, the creator and head writer of She-Hulk. The man behind her is credited as the ham guy. You can't really see it, but he's carving a ham. Now, this guy is Michael Zeb Wells, a writer and producer for She-Hulk, and he also wrote Amazing Spider-Man run of comics. He actually has written a lot of comics. He's a great writer. Also, we get a snippet of Cody Ziegler, who is one of the staff writers for the series. The two writers that are non-stop talking are actually actors portraying Jessica Gao and Zeb Wells, Eden Lee and Justin Miles, which is very funny to me that they just didn't use the actual writers. Behind Jen, we see the visual designs they picked from nods to different comics. We see the Battle of the Inhumans cover, She-Hulk issue number 26, and her infamous leotard outfits. They refer to Kevin Feige, I assume this is Kevin Feige, as K.E.V.I.N, and I am not going to say the acronym, I'm going to say Kevin because I feel like me and this robot would be close, which we later find out stands for Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus, and we've heard the term Nexus millions of times before in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We follow Jen through the Marvel Studios corridor and elevator in this space-like wallpaper. You can see the Marvel Studios sign behind it, but opposite of the elevator is actually the Guardians of the Galaxy. We see a Black Panther poster next to the She-Hulk poster. In the office waiting area, we see a Hulk statue, the Infinity Gauntlet, various Marvel action figures, including the tiny Thanos on his little chair on the table. We see Tony Stark's suits, his Mark II, 5, and 7 suits. The receptionist is actually played by Matt Wilkie, who at the time worked as Marvel Studios as the receptionist because they thought it would be fun for you to be like, that's the guy that actually signed me in and told me to sign the NDA. Speaking of NDAs, you have to sign the non-disclosure agreement because it's Marvel, dude. They're not gonna let you leak their secrets without signing an NDA. Then cue Energy by Lotto, and we're off to the races, baby. Jen is beating up every Marvel security personnel in her way. I like this hallway fighting scene because it's giving me Daredevil fighting scene, and I'm like, ooh, they're getting closer. We see the hallways lined with stills and different Marvel property images. I think these are all original concept art. We see Rocket and Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor's hammer, and the arc reactor from Iron Man. Once we make it to Kevin's, let's call it an office, we see clips from Civil War, Infinity War, Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, Endgame, Avengers, separately Age of Ultron. Some of these clips show up in the opening sequence to a Marvel movie, but not all of them. And in a spooky reveal, we find out Kevin is a robot, a very smart, sentient robot that's been creating these Marvel shows and movies. Also, his hood for his camera eyes resemble like a little hat, and I love it. According to Jessica Gao, they at first toyed around with a human playing Kevin. They were actually looking at like James Ham. What's his name? John Hamm. But turning him into a robotic machine just made more sense and was funnier. Also, I know that people want John Hamm to play Mr. Sinister, so let's just leave it at that. This reveal completely reminded me of the WALL-E scene when we realized the robot was actually crazy and very evil. I also really like this gag that She-Hulk has been going on sort of poking fun at Marvel things. In an interview, Jessica Gao said that they had to cut a lot of their jokes out of the series because they poked too much fun at Marvel. But making Kevin Feige an all-powerful, all-knowing robot that the writers obey and pray to is funny and true to all of us. And Kevin is built so interestingly. He has 3 lenses, each red, blue, green, RGB, primary colors of light used in a lot of video formats, color TV even. He has 2 sort of floppy disk drives upon his head, which is why, an on and off switch, which I'm sure is not in use. The screen on the side I can make out says Kevin, but I think it's tracking which lens it's using. Either way, its font and format kind of looks like the TVs used in Loki. And also when you get to a wider view, you see a full film spool continuously spinning. It's insane. And Kevin acknowledges the VFX is expensive, citing Jen must change off screen. So easy, so fun. Though he does go off and say that the VFX artists have moved on to different projects. When he says that, we hear the Wakanda drums, indicating it was probably to move those VFX folks over to the Wakanda Forever during the time of shooting this. I mean, or it's a nod to the plight that the VFX folks at Disney, whom they usually outsource, have been dealing with for a while, being overworked and underpaid. I calls it as I sees them. We also get shots of these podiums filled with different Marvel comic books. It feels like Kevin is sort of absorbing them. The bottom of the podiums look like electric currents, so he could actively be always reading these comics. I'm no Ryan Airy. I never would say I am. He reads everything, who I'm sure went in depth on each of these comics, but I damn will try, Ryan. Okay, so I think we see America Chavez's comic book, a She-Hulk comic book, and a Scarlet Witch. We got the Miss Marvel, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, and Daredevil, Shang-Chi, and I think that's Sam Wilson's Captain America. What I do sort of like is that as opposed to most MCU movies or shows that have these giant climaxes with explosions, fights, and sometimes the super soldier serum, this could be the first to break that deal with the internal conflict that Jen has. While everyone else's stakes may include rampaging and powers, Jen's is fighting herself and overcoming all that stuff that happened to her. So yeah, different stakes can work, and I like that K.E.V.I.N took that into account. So now Todd's Hulk powers are removed. Hulk does not save the day in Jen's show, but Jen does interject and say, save it for the movie, which every Avenger who has a family has now gained like a movie. There's like Thor, I'll argue Wanda, and now Hulk. And I don't think it's necessarily a get a child, get a movie deal, but we need to see our Avengers that haven't died move on as we introduce some newer ones coming in. As Jen is addressing her needs, I love that K.E.V.I.N begins to acknowledge that some can see as a fault on the MCU for being light in that department, referring to sex. Jen immediately sits down, starts listing off all her quarrels after that, and I love this. She addresses all the daddy issues, i.e. Loki, Thor, Tony Stark, Star-Lord, arguably Gamora and Nebula, Yelena, Shang-Chi, the list literally does go on. She's team audience looking out for us, asking when the X-Men are coming. He says he can't answer that right now. I like what she's doing here with the thumbs up and the tongue out like a silly goose. She has some directions on her season 2 show, which is a great way to lean into getting a new season. Once you just address it and say it out loud, maybe you might get it, you know, they need to know. Also, keep in mind, Bruce may smash buildings, but Jen smashes bad endings. And Matt Murdock. This was like my Baron Zemo dance. We're back at Emil's retreat and it's daylight outside. All the men that stayed from the Intelligentsia meetup event is now arrested. The LA Sheriff Department is there, probably because this is out of LA's city's jurisdiction, so it's not the LAPD, it's the LA Sheriff Department. And the DODC is there for Emil. Titania is, of course, vlogging everything to her Titaniacs, and we still presumably don't know why she's there. Later, Jen's still living at home with her parents, introducing Matt to everyone. Are Jen and Matt dating? Soon to be? I don't know, but I love this. Bruce arrives and he has a son, and this is SKAAR. And SKAAR has arrived, my dudes. I was the one that said, I don't think he's gonna be showing up. Look who's here, standing behind his dad like a sad, brooding child. SKAAR is played by Will Dusner. This gives way, though, to all the theories people had about SKAAR in the series and what might possibly follow the World War Hulk storyline. Now, in the comics during Planet Hulk, Hulk was banished off Earth, and he landed on SKAAR and met Kyra, the Old Strong. They had a son, SKAAR, and now before Kyra's death, she created a cocoon for SKAAR to keep him safe, in which he emerges from not long after. This happened while Hulk was already on his way back to Earth to enact revenge for banishing him off-world. SKAAR aged quickly after coming out of that damn cocoon, but as soon as he emerged, he came out a fighter because that's all he knew. In Son of Hulk, he goes after Axeman Bone, Galactus, fights his cousin She-Hulk, even going after Hulk in Son of Hulk. He likes to fight, you guys, he just fights. I don't think we'll necessarily see all of that, but I think we could get some resentment from SKAAR and Hulk not being there for him in his developing years, because why wouldn't you be? We're back outside of the courthouse, and the field reporter that coined the name She-Hulk stops Jen for her questioning, and we see the courtroom illustration of Jen stepping and looking back mirrored here. It's also a nod to the Dan Slott She-Hulk comic. I like that she says
that if you attack, harm, or harass innocent people, I'm coming for you.
And when asked as a superhero lawyer, she says both. And I can't wait to see Jen prosecute by day and kick ass by night. The show closes with Missy Elliott's We Run This. Jen's literally running this. Changed her own ending, girl. Like, who does that? We've got a couple new courtroom illustrations. There's Princess Silkfeather wearing Emil's inhibitor. K.E.V.I.N wearing his signature baseball cap, reading She-Hulk's first issue. Jen taking Todd to court with low-down dirty Josh sweating behind She-Hulk. We also get our final mid-credit scene, and it's Wang breaking Emil out of prison. So now we can expect to see Emil and America Chavez at the Kamar-Taj. I would have killed to see Madison in the background, but you know, I'll take it. I'll take it as is. I'll take it as is. Also, Emil asked for the Wi-Fi password, just like Strange asked Mordo in the first Doctor Strange movie.
What's this, my mantra?
The Wi-Fi password. We're not savages.
And that's everything I spotted in the 9th episode of She-Hulk. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Lulu_Clemons. Follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more breakdowns of everything you love. I've had a blast, literally so much fun breaking these down for you. I'm really sad to see it end, but oh God, I'm choking. And I'll have a blast breaking down whatever comes my way next. So don't worry, I'll be back. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. She-Hulk smash.